All right, let's talk about adding signed numbers. First, when adding numbers that have the same sign, you're going to add the absolute values and keep the sign. Let's do some examples. -3 plus -6. Well, the absolute value of -3 is 3. The absolute value of -6 is 6. So we're just adding 3 and 6, which gives you 9. But you keep the sign. They're both negative, so the result is negative. Let's do another one. All right, let's find -5 and -4 and -3. So they all have the same sign, which is negative. So we just add the absolute values. The absolute value of -5 is 5. The absolute value of -4 is 4. The absolute value of -3 is 3. 5 and 4 make 9, plus 3 is 12. And because we're adding negatives, we keep the sign. When adding numbers with different signs, you want to subtract the absolute values. You'll take the number with the smaller absolute value away from the number with the larger absolute value. Don't worry, you'll instinctively do it the correct way. And then you'll keep the sign of the number whose absolute value is larger. Let's do some examples and talk about this. All right, -10 and +3 have different signs. So we'll subtract the absolute values. Well, the absolute value of -10 is 10. The absolute value of 3 is 3. And since +3 is smaller than 10, you'll subtract 3 from 10. And then you have to decide the sign of your answer. So we keep the sign of the number whose absolute value is larger. And you know that -10 is smaller than 3, but its absolute value is larger. Sometimes it helps to think in terms of money. If your bank account had -$10 in it and you made a deposit of $3, you would still owe the bank $7. Let's do another. So -8 and +20 have different signs. So we're going to subtract the absolute values. Take the smaller away from the larger. Well, the absolute value of -8 is 8. So we'll take 8 out of 20. And then you have to decide the sign of the answer. Well, the absolute value of 20 is larger, so the sign of the answer is positive. Again, you could think of it in terms of a bank account. If you owed the bank $8 and then made a deposit of $20, you would now have a positive balance of $12. So to help you remember, if they have the same sign, you take the sum and keep the sign. If they have different signs, you take the difference. Remember that difference is the result of a subtraction. You keep the sign of the larger, I put larger in quotes, because that means the number with a larger absolute value. Let's do some more examples. All right, if you have negative 15 plus positive 4 plus negative 3, remember when you add, subtract, you go left to right in the order that they appear. So negative 15 and positive 4 have different signs. So you take the difference. So the absolute value of 15 is 15. Take away 4 and you get 11. But the number with the larger absolute value is negative. So that result is negative. Then we want to add negative 3. These two numbers have the same sign, so you just add their absolute values. The absolute value of negative 11 is 11. The absolute value of negative 3 is 3. 11 plus 3 is 14. Since they're both negative, you keep the negative. Let's do another one. All right, negative 10 plus 3 plus negative 7. And if I were you, I would pause the recording and try it on your own before watching me do the rest of the problem. All right, going left to right, we'll add negative 10 and positive 3. And since they have different signs, you subtract. 3 from 10 is 7. But since the larger one is negative, the result's going to be negative. Then we'll bring down the plus negative 7. These numbers have the same sign, so you add their absolute values. 7 and 7 make 14, and keep the sign. Let's do another one. All right, negative 3 plus positive 12 plus negative 20. And again, I would recommend hitting pause and trying it on your own before watching me finish. All right, let's go left to right. These numbers have different signs, so you find the difference in their absolute values. So 12, take away 3 is 9. And because the larger number is positive, the result is positive. And now let's finish it. Positive 9 and negative 20 have different signs. Subtract the absolute value of the smaller from the absolute value of the larger. So 20, take away 9 is 11. But because the absolute value of negative 20 is larger, the result is going to be negative. All right, you want to make sure you practice that a lot until it's second nature.